the Bankrupt crypto lender Celsius Network is allowing withdrawals of some assets from certain custody accounts, according to news that we reported this week. Celsius, of course, is a disgraced lender, was once worth about $20 billion. It ran into big trouble last summer in June with liquidity issues, but it did reopen some withdrawals to some users back in February, up to a limit of about $7,500. And now the latest news is that more users will be able to access their assets and to a higher amount. So that's good news. But Celsius, of course, is still in trouble. Its CEO and founder, Alex Machinsky, has been accused of defrauding its investors by no less person than the New York Attorney General, Letitia James. But this is good news for some users of Celsius who stake their money on that network and who can now get some of that money back. So happy Friday to those people. Anyone want to talk about that?
Well, I mean, what specifics do we have about who is going to be able to get this access?
Well, we don't know at the moment. This is still very much based upon a tweet that was sent out from the company. So we're still unclear exactly what the limits are, but we're told that they will be more generous than before. And part of the bankruptcy arrangement around the company is that up to 97% of the users will be able to get their money back according to that agreement. So it shouldn't be too bad in the end.
So is that that's the recovery level that they're expecting eventually is for 97%? Obviously with crypto that's a little bit wonky, but that's great to hear.
Yeah.
Mount Gox creditors would love to get that kind of return back on their lost funds.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess Mt. Gox proves that it can take a long, long time to get your money back. I mean, that's a 10-year story now. So I guess the creditors in this case can expect to wait a little bit longer too.
Yeah. If you're lucky enough to be able to get anything right now, that's great. It definitely can take a long time. I've also been talking to people involved in the recovery process and various lawsuits around FTX, and they're also looking at Mt. Gox. And admittedly, Mt. Gox, to be clear, is a Japanese bankruptcy liquidation. So that's a different regime. And so that might be, at least I've seen some claims that that's a particularly slow process. But in the U.S. too, it can take a long time. So in all of these cases, FTX is also looking at higher recovery rates than you might imagine. But the time that it takes to get that is a huge cost to people, and worth remembering, right? In finance, we have this term opportunity cost. You might still get your money back, but you've still lost the opportunity to do other things with it in the meantime. So even if you're seeing these 97% recovery rates, it's still a real bad time for people who are caught in that kind of trap, and certainly does not make it any less of a fraud in the first place.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It doesn't. I don't know that this will go very far in redeeming Celsius and Alex Machinsky in the long run. It's just makes the sting a little less pronounced, perhaps.